Hello, everybody. We're on number 16 today. This one is quite a doozy. It's almost actually it's longer than 2 full pages long. So I'm not even going to go over my thoughts and discuss this one. Maybe if you're interested in that, throw that down in the comments, and maybe we could set up a dialogue between the two of us and do a little recording. But that would end up being or this video would end up being so long if I read it all out and then discussed my thoughts, because it's probably going to be a lot of them. So with that said, though, let's see what Marcus Aurelius has to say about his adopted father, who I'm pretty sure is the emperor of Rome at this time, I believe. So here we go. Compassion, unwavering adherence to decisions. Once he'd reached them. Indifference to superficial honors, hard work, persistence. Listening to anyone who could contribute to the public good. His dogged determination to treat people as they deserved. A sense of when to push and when to back off. Putting a stop to the pursuit of boys. His altruism. Not expecting his friends to keep him entertained at dinner or to travel with him unless they wanted to. And anyone who had to stay behind to take care of something always found him the same when he returned. His searching questions at meetings, a kind of single-mindedness, almost, never content with first impressions or breaking off the discussion prematurely. His constancy, I have to look that one up. His constancy to friends, never getting fed up with them or playing favorites. Self-reliance, always, and cheerfulness. In his advanced planning, well in advance, and his discreet attention to even minor things. His restrictions on acclamations, and all attempts to flatter him. His constant devotion to the empire's needs, his stewardship of the treasury, his willingness to take responsibility and blame for both. His attitude to the gods, no superstitiousness, and his attitude to men, no demagoguery, no currying favor, and no pandering. Always sober, always steady, and never vulgar or a prey to fads. The way he handled the material comforts that fortune had supplied him in such abundance, without arrogance and without apology. If they were there, he took advantage of them. If not, he didn't miss them. No one ever called him glib, or shameless, or pedantic. They saw him for what he was, a man tested by life, accomplished, unswayed by flattery, qualified to govern both himself and them. His respect for people who practiced philosophy, at least those who were sincere about it, but without denigrating the others or listening to them. His ability to feel at ease with people and put them at their ease without being pushy. His willingness to take adequate care of himself, not a hypochondriac or obsessed with his appearance, but not ignoring things either. With the result that he hardly ever needed medical attention or drugs of any sort to salve or ointment. This in particular, his willingness to yield the floor to experts in oratory, law, psychology, whatever, and to support them energetically so that each of them could fulfill his potential. That he respected tradition without needing to constantly congratulate himself for safeguarding our traditional values. Not prone to go off on tangents, or pulled in all directions, but sticking with the same old places and the same old things. The way he could have one of his migraines and then go right back into what he was doing, fresh and at the top of his game. That he had so few secrets, only state secrets in fact, and not all that many of those. The way he kept public actions within reasonable bounds, games, building projects, distributions of money, and so on, because he looked at what needed doing and not the credit to be gained from doing it. No bathing at strange hours, no self-indulgent building projects, no concern for food, or the cut and color of his clothes, or having attractive slaves. The robe from his farm at Lorium, most of the things at Lanavium, the way he accepted the customs agent's apology at Tusculium, etc. That latter sentence was in brackets there. He never exhibited rudeness, lost control of himself, or turned violent. No one ever saw him sweat. Everything was to be approached logically and with due consideration, in a calm and orderly fashion, but decisively, and with no loose ends. You could have said of him, as they say of Socrates, that he knew how to enjoy and abstain from things that most people find it hard to abstain from, and all too easy to enjoy. Strength, perseverance, self-control in both areas, the mark of a soul in readiness, indomitable. Maximus's illness, in brackets. That's the end of that one. Now, as you can see, if you listen to all that, if I were to attempt to go off and dissect this line by line, this would be probably an hour or 2 hours long. And there'd be so many abstractions and rabbit holes to go down. Yeah. But just what are my thoughts on that? Just like an overview. This person sounds like an incredible individual. Energetic was mentioned. And I'm pretty sure this person was the Emperor of Rome, the 5th or 6th or 7th Emperor of Rome, the one right before Marcus Aurelius. And so this person had every lap of luxury that the time could offer, but yet it sounds as though he abstained from things. He didn't demand to always be bathed in luxury and fineries and have an easy go at it. It looked, if I could sum it up real quick, it seems like the type of guy who worked hard and played hard. He knew when to relax, or when he could relax and enjoy himself and enjoy some of the things around him. But it looks like he also knew how to put his nose to the grindstone and put his head down and get to work and get things done. That it sounds like things were done under his rule that were quite helpful, at least in Marcus Aurelius's eyes. And again, just going back on the little bit of history that I know, this was after the Senate began to lose significant control, and after Julius Caesar kind of made it into having a dictator, or an emperor rather. So society was beginning to fall and become very under the rule of one man. But at this time, it had only been 100 or 200 years, and all the systems in place, like the Senate still might have had a bit of power. There'd be potentially people alive that would have remembered having more of a multi-branches of government. And if not, though, back in this point in time in history, people really, really respected the past. And so even if it was a great-great-grandfather or grandmother that did have, multiple heads of power, like the 2 consuls and the Senate and such, they would have really remembered that, and remembered that system did work well for a while. And so it did take a number of centuries and generations before the Roman Republic fell. And so even though it seems like in today's day and age, throughout history, people have looked back at emperors of Rome either favorably or unfavorably based on how society has looked at rule by one man or one individual, in the concentration of power into that one person. Right now, I feel as though personally, it's hard to say, because there's a lot that went into why that happened in that particular set of circumstances. It wasn't necessarily all that unjustified or wrong or right or justified. It just really depends on the lens you want to look at. Where was I going? But I feel as though right now in our current political climate, we would definitely view this as a bad thing. The concentration of power. We live in a social democracy. We like having multiple heads of power, or maybe not so much heads, but heads of power, influence from various streams. That way it's not all concentrated. We appreciate that as a society. And they did too back in Rome. That's why Rome was founded the way it was. But where am I going with this, though? It sounds like this, I guess, to weave back around to what I was saying. Um, Sometimes it's easy to think of, oh, like all the emperors were self-absorbed and in it for themselves and would suck up all the tax dollars and all the luxuries of the realm, uh, and be wasteful, have big feasts, and that really happened towards like it just progressively got worse and worse. But at this time when this person's writing, even though he was an emperor, um, it seems as though he was a very fair and humble and what you would almost think of as like a good king or a good ruler who was fair. And I don't know for sure anything about this individual. I'm just going off what Marcus Aurelius said about him. And I trust Marcus Aurelius, so I think he's a good high authority score source. So yeah, just because this person's an emperor doesn't necessarily mean that he's bad or that he treated the people that were part of his realm poorly. Um, it sounds like he was one of the better, and that's true of most of those earlier emperors. And again, love or hate the term. Um, a lot of them were like fairly good and fair individuals, and the whole thing with their system was like ambition and honor were the highest things, and so to act inhonorably, it wouldn't really have gone over well for them. And certainly go down in the comments, and I'd love to learn a little bit. Almost all of my stuff comes from Dan Carlin's Hardcore History. Some of it's very fascinating to learn about the rise and fall of the Roman Republic. But yeah, I think again I've already said it. Wrapping this video up here now. We've been going for 12 minutes. Yeah, sounds like a guy who worked hard, play hard. He was respectable, humble. Sounds like a good person. I think going out to dinner with him or going to a party, and if this person was there, you'd want to have a conversation or two with him and be happy that he came into your life, and maybe I think you'd walk away from that conversation thinking to yourself, wow, that person has a lot of charisma, a lot of energy. I'm glad that they are kind of have the oversight over things that happen in the realm that affect me day to day in society. I think that that's the impression probably most people would get from this individual. I'm sure probably his enemies would not think the same. But 2,000 years go by, and all we have are these words to listen to, and so to me it sounds like a good individual. And with that, thanks for listening, and we'll see you probably tomorrow.